is we switch between science and social studies, between natural world and social world. The first thing that we need to do is to read the overview, just like everything else. So do I have volunteers to read that overview section? We can always count on y'all. Okay, yeah, sir.
What is science literacy, and what connection does it have to your life? This is a question that many middle school students have. It is estimated that fewer than 7% of American adults and 22% of college graduates are science literate. The book Science Matters indicates that there are only 18 basic principles, laws, and ideas or core concepts that you need to know to be scientifically literate. During this year, we will study at least 7 of those principles: ladder of life, code of life, earth cycles, restless earth, evolution, and ecosystems. But what connection does this information have to you and your life?
All right, next paragraph. Ryan?
There are 3 main arguments for knowing this information. First, it is helpful to be an informed voter. Many of the political debates require some scientific background to understand the issues such as genetic engineering, environmental legislation, and the building of super colliders. Second, the world operates according to a few general laws of nature. In your everyday life, knowing these laws will let you make connections with the activities you do in your work and in play, and will enrich those activities. Third, scientific knowledge sets the intellectual climate. Knowing the current scientific technology influences the perspective of all other areas of study. This will directly affect all areas of work, including your possible chosen profession.
Is there anything that stands out in that overview to you all? Corin?
Shouldn't affect have an E instead of an A?
What?
Where?
No. That's an effect. You can have a noun affect and a noun effect and a verb effect.
That's English.
Yeah, that's the English language for you. Good thing we're in the science pages right now. All right, anything about the content of the overview that stands out to you all? Grady?
I don't want to raise my hand.
Okay. How about envision what job you want to have? Think ahead, or might, or pondering, and how might science come into play in your future job? Does anybody have a comment on that? Go for it.
I want to be a lawyer, somebody like digital lawyer or something, like technology, or a doctor. There already are like doctors that you can call, or an engineer. I don't think technology can help that in my.
I think that engineering is mostly science. You're going to need to know a lot about physics and how the world works.
Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously doctors usually study biology. They're very well versed in biology, and even lawyers, when we're talking about like the ethics of technology, like artificial intelligence, what is ethical use of that, that's going to be a big area of law. So it's really important for everybody, no matter what job you think you might have, what role in society, to have a really solid foundation in science and to be scientifically literate is what it says in here. Okay, without further ado, we're going to do this big overview lesson, and some of it might go over your head at first, but we're going to add details to the picture as we dive into the readings that are involved and the labs that are involved with this cycle. So it's okay if you're like, what does she mean? Because it will all become clear. So this is the lesson that is number 5 on your study guide on the organization of life. 6 characteristics of living things 4 needs of living things and 16 patterns of life. So first, we've got our little friend here. He says, I'm alive! Just like you and I. I'm alive! Maybe you should his mouth. There are 4 needs of living things. Everything that is alive requires water. Everything that is alive requires energy.
To be sitting together during any lessons. I think that you move most of the times. Corn, could you please move this time? Noah's moved every other single time that I've separated you guys. Okay. Thank you. Maybe down here.
This might be a word that is new. This one is homeostasis. So that is a good question. Food is hidden in this energy portion. Because the way that we get energy is by eating food, or if you're a plant, by making your food through photosynthesis. So it's hidden in that energy portion. Homeostasis is, it's about balance. It's about striking a balance between your inner world and outer world. So a cell has a boundary, and it has to be in balance with its environment to be alive and thriving. Okay. Next, let's do these 6 characteristics of life. Things that are living respond to their surroundings. Things that are living can reproduce. These are things that you started learning in your primary class, right? When you did living and non-living sorting. There are certain chemicals of life that we will study that all living things share. Cellular organization. So if you are alive, if you're a living thing, there is some form of organization involved, and we're going to talk about that with the ladder of life or tower of life. Different scientists call it different things. Things that are living grow and develop. And then things that are living use energy. There are 16 patterns of life. Where we find life, we find these patterns. Turnover. Life maintains itself by turnover. So in cell turnover, the cells die, you slough them off, right? If it's a skin cell, and new cells reproduce. They're replaced. There is cell turnover in a living thing. Interconnected and interdependent. There are a network of interactions. Disruption of one organism can disrupt the entire environment. We talk a lot about this when we talk about ecosystems, right? So if there is an extinction, the loss of life of one animal means that maybe there's not a food source for another, and it affects the entire ecosystem. That's true for the entire web of life. Water. Life occurs in water. When we did that timeline of life lesson, water was important to it. In your cells, they're made of 70% water. Life began in water. It's the most abundant fluid on Earth, and it supports all living chemistry. Cycles. Life works in cycles. Biological processes end up right back where they started. So the circulation of your blood goes through your whole body, gets reoxygenated by your lungs. Your nervous system runs on a cycles. And bigger picture, life and death is a big cycle on our planet. Bottom up, life builds from the bottom up, right? So we start with cells and then tissues and organ and whole systems. Chains. Life assembles itself into chains. And what I'm referring to here are information chains, like your DNA is like a chain, or all proteins, your working proteins form chains. Trying to decide, maybe that's where we'll flip it over. Few themes, many variations. Life uses a few themes to create many variations. So the process of evolution, we hang on to what works and then explore and tinker and make mistakes, and that's how life kind of moves forward. Inside, outside. Life needs an inside and an outside. That is this homeostasis part, right? Everything, you have an inside and you have an outside. There is the organism and there is the environment. And those things are interconnected, but there is an inside and an outside. Sugar, that's that food and energy part. Life runs on just different versions of sugar. So photosynthesis is sunlight plus carbon dioxide plus water equals oxygen and glucose. Glucose is a fancy name for sugar. Optimize. Life tends to optimize. It achieves the right amount of things. Never too much, never too little. That's also that homeostasis piece. Recycles. Life recycles everything that it uses. Intake and output are balanced. One organism's waste is another's food. So that's just like how photosynthesis and respiration are linked, something that you probably studied in elementary. So the plant does not need the oxygen, but we do. Life recycles. Opportunistic. Life is opportunistic. It flourishes everywhere on the planet. A dead tree is food and home for lichens and insects. Harsh climates have plants and animals that have adapted to them. Deserts still have life. We've even found, right, microscopic life on other planets at this point. Life finds a way. Cooperative. Life competes within a cooperative framework. Self-interested, not self-destructive. Cooperation between predator and prey promotes survival of the fittest. We're getting there. Might have to arrange petals here. Organizes with information. Life organizes with the information that it has. It's sort of like an extremely complex robot taking in millions and billions of pieces of information and parts. Reshuffling. Life encourages variety by reshuffling information. So biological diversity can be thought of as a reshuffling of the same deck of cards. We only have the same elements up there to work with, and yet all of these different forms of life exist. Mistakes. Life creates with mistakes. In Montessori, we have this idea called friendliness with error, and that is built into the universe around us, which I think is super cool. So gene sequences, if there is a defect, it might actually be an improvement. That's kind of how that reshuffling happens. It's like, oops, this one didn't get quite coded the same way, and that mistake can create something new and amazing. So those are the 16 patterns of life. Last is this tower of life. You can tell that I am a mom by how we're gonna build this, right? So the largest organisms, human being, you are an organism. An organism is made up of different systems. So for humans, we have a respiratory system, a circulatory system, nervous system, digestive system. Within those systems are organs. So I want to throw out some organs of the respiratory system.
Lungs.
Your lungs. Anybody else? Well, yeah, not in human beings, but that's a respiratory system, yeah. If you're a fish, you need that for your respiratory system. Nicely done.
Well, technically, sharks don't use that. They use ram ventilation where they force the air out.
So they have a different respiratory system, but they have organs. What I think is interesting about this is that you are one organism, but within you are these different systems that are also whole and complete on their own, that also have these whole and complete organs in them that stand alone as wholes. And they have tissues. So brain tissue is different than lung tissue. And that's complete on its own and a masterpiece. And within those tissues are cells, which are whole and complete on their own. And within those cells are different compounds, which are whole and complete. And within those compounds are molecules, whole and complete. And within those molecules are elements, which we have a whole periodic table of, and we can distinguish between them, and they are whole and complete. And within those elements are atoms, which we also can distinguish and are whole and complete. There is holes within holes within holes. WHOLES, not like a hole in the ground. And that is what is so amazing about life, is that there is such complexity within every single layer of it. Right? I saw a hand. Did you want to say something? Yeah.
Yeah, so by tissue, do you mean like the tissue you wipe your nose?
No. So tissue is like, I could take, if I was a doctor, I could take a slice of skin tissue, and if I looked at that under a microscope, it would look like a bunch of different skin cells. And that tissue would be different than if I took a different biopsy of your lung. That is different tissue. It's like a web of cells makes a tissue.
It's like the fabric of your
fabric
body.
of life.
Or it's like the material that things are made out of in your body. Different
Thank
tissues.
you for clarifying.
And also for the personal reflection long-term project, I'm studying the periodic table, and I haven't memorized a lot, but right now I've memorized 13.
Very cool.
But I'm gonna try to memorize all of them.
Well, when we do all of this reading, there were things that you will recognize because you spent time with that periodic table. Okay. What I want to do next is just a bit of housekeeping. I think that can stop